The criminal history of Tupac. Tupac Shakur's brief and mysterious life serves as the basis for a point-counterpoint lyric that combines indisputable artistic prowess with irrefutable brutality. It's a tale filled with both light and shadow, notoriety and anonymity, a dichotomy that Shakur was all too familiar with. He stated, "I believe as though role models in today's society are not meant to be put on a pedestal, but more like angels with torn wings." A barrage of gunfire put an end to Shakur's life while he was only 25 years old. He will be remembered not just for the famous body of work he left behind, but also for the criminal history that served as a source of inspiration for his creativity. "I didn't have a police record until I made a record," Tupac said in one of his songs. Hey friends, welcome back to Jail Insider. In this video, we're going to know about the famous personality Tupac Shakur, who has an incredible criminal record. While we talk about him, lots of questions come to our mind. Like, why was Tupac in prison? Had he killed people? Was Tupac a real gangster? So without any further ado, let's understand his case. Tupac was born under the name Lassane Parish Crooks, the first name given to him as a tribute to the last Incan Empire who fought against the Spanish and died, a warrior for his people, while his parents gave him the surname Shakur, also as a flag of revolutionary resistance, as Afeni Shakur would explain in the future. His first name was given to him as a tribute to the last Incan emperor who fought against the Spanish and died, as a warrior for his people. The early years of Tupac's life in Baltimore were marked by a life of marginal privilege. He was known for his dancing and acting skills and attended a school specifically designed for the arts. According to Avra Warsofsky, who was a former classmate of his, he was a dear, sweet person. There were inner-city kids in the school who were tough, who stole, but he was not that, not even a little bit. Tupac's family life began to deteriorate while he was still in his late teens, and this led to a climate that was not conducive to creative expression. Eventually, this environment would come to an end. His mother started abusing crack cocaine after she and his father had a falling out and became alienated from each other. Now let's talk about his criminal record. Qaid Walker Teal murder, August 22, 1992. Tupac performed at an outdoor festival on August 22, 1992 in Marin City, California, and stayed afterward to sign autographs and take pictures. He was there for around 1 hour. When the dispute erupted, the shouting kept getting louder, and he pulled out a .380 ACP, cocked it, fumbled it, and dropped it on the ground. Some earlier derogatory words that Tupac had made about Marin City had caught up with him. He yelled at his brother Mopreme, "Get the gun!" and Mopreme fired anywhere from 3 to 6 times. Even though nobody in the crowd was shot, a little boy named Qaid Walker Teal was riding his bike in a playground about 100 yards away when he was struck in the forehead by a bullet, which ultimately resulted in his death. When Tupac and Mopreme attempted to flee in their vehicle, they were unexpectedly confronted by a hostile crowd in front of a sheriff's substation. The people were saved by the police and taken into custody. However, they were later freed without any charges being filed against them. On April 5, 1993, he assaulted another rapper named Chauncey Wynn. Tupac was taken into custody on Monday, April 5, 1993, and charged with trying to strike fellow rapper Chauncey Wynn from the group MAD with a baseball bat during a performance at Michigan State University. The incident allegedly occurred at that event. On October 31, 1993, Tupac was charged with murder in connection to the shooting death of 2 off-duty Atlanta police officers. On November 18, 1993, Tupac was taken into custody for sexually assaulting a woman. While Tupac was in New York for the production of the movie Above the Rim, he was arrested for allegedly sexually abusing a 19-year-old lady named Ayanna Jackson in the room of the Parker Meridian Hotel that cost $750 per night. The suite was located on the 38th floor. In New York City, allegations of sexual assault and sodomy, as well as charges of weapons possession, were brought against Tupac. The charges of sodomy and firearm possession were dismissed. Shakur was given a prison sentence ranging from 1.5 to 4.5 years, of which he completed 9 months at the Clinton Correctional Facility beginning February 14, 1995. A boyhood friend of Tupac's would later say this time of the rapper spent behind bars. It was a terrible experience for him to be imprisoned in a horrific environment with guards threatening to murder him, inmates threatening to kill him. It was just a terrible experience for him. He stated, "I've never had anybody treat me with such contempt and shame as they did in jail." Tupac was brought to the attention of Suge Knight and Death Row Records as a result of the circumstances described above. Suge was no stranger to Tupac. In fact, he counted the young rapper as one of his greatest influences. Suge had always been keen to work with Tupac in the hopes that one day he might be able to peel him away from his own contract and bring him into death row, as he'd done with the likes of Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Suge had always been eager to work with Tupac. Even though Tupac was behind bars at the time, his iconic album Me Against the World would go on to become the most successful album of all time in the world of rap at that time. Even with the sales and reviews that were phenomenal, he did not make enough money to pay off his legal obligations, so there was little reason to celebrate. Tupac was forced to mortgage his mother's house in order to help cover these expenditures because he had not yet paid those fees and his bond had been set. Shakur was taken into custody October 31, 1993, following a shooting incident in Atlanta that included two off-duty police officers, Mark Whitwell, a police officer in Clayton County, Georgia, and Scott Whitwell, a police officer in nearby Henry County, together with their wives, reportedly crossing the street when they were almost struck by a car. Mark Whitwell's brother Scott was a police officer too, and the officers, who were dressed in civilian clothes, engaged in a verbal dispute with the driver of the automobile and its passengers, as well as with occupants of a second vehicle that stopped, and that argument spread to include both of these vehicles' passengers. It is not quite apparent from the evidence who fired the initial gun or in whose automobile Shakur was riding at the time of the shooting. However, as the conflict between the two parties intensified, Shakur ended up shooting both of the police officers, striking one in the leg and the other in the buttocks. There are those who claim that Mark Whitwell was the first to pull out a gun. After it was discovered that the policemen involved had been drinking and were in possession of weapons that had been stolen from the evidence room, the charges against them were dismissed. On November 10, 1994, before Tupac was scheduled to star in the film Menace 2, he punched the film's director, Alan Hughes, for which he was sentenced to 15 days in jail. Lawrence Tate portrayed Shakur in the film instead of the original actor. In the early morning hours of November 30, 1994, three black men ambushed Shakur in the lobby of a recording studio located in Times Square, New York City. In addition to robbing him of more than $35,000 in cash and jewels, the individuals shot him 5 times, hurting him in the head, the groin, and the hand. Shakur was given a prison sentence of 130 days on April 5, 1996 for breaking the conditions of his bail release. Tupac was a spectator at the boxing match between Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon, which took place September 7, 1996 in Las Vegas, Nevada. After the battle was over, Mary and Suge Knight informed Tupac that Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, a purported member of the Crip Street Gang, was in the lobby of the hotel. An associate of the record label, Death Row, was among the people whom Anderson and other members of the gang had been suspected of stealing from earlier this year. In 2011, via the Freedom of Information Act, the FBI released documents related to its investigation, which described an extortion scheme by the Jewish Defense League that included making death threats against Shakur and other rappers, but did not indicate a direct connection to his murder. And that's going to do it for today's video, guys. We sincerely hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and share it with all your friends and family and fellow rap fans. And let us know if you have any questions or comments in the section down below. Don't forget, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and see more of our incredible videos. And watch the other videos that have been specially selected just for you. Hey, we look forward to seeing you in our next one. Thanks for watching.